An opportunity to go to Minnesota for work about a month ago. And I wasn't the one that booked my flight, so I was extremely surprised that they had booked me with a first class ticket. And when I tell you that they are completely right in the fact that you will never fly the same after you fly first class, they are 100% right. I will be back in coach for the foreseeable future, but it was a complete 180 from being squished into coach to being pampered in first class. Steve Harvey honestly said it best when he said this.
What happens is, once you sit in that first class seat, you have now been exposed. The game changes now.
But the person that I met on that flight changed my views on the way that I do business and made me look at my life differently. So here's what I learned. We're gonna go ahead and name this guy Al. But he sat right next to me on the plane, and something that I usually do on planes is I like to have a conversation with the person next to me. And this gives you a great opportunity to make conversation with somebody that you know nothing about. And if, let's say, you mess up and everything's super awkward, okay, well, you're never gonna see them again anyways. So I get talking with Al and I ask him what he does for a living, and we're kind of talking back and forth, and he says he is in medical technologies. He then proceeds to go into the scientific side of what he does, and it began to really hurt my brain. So I'm gonna give you the quick summary version. So essentially, he created certain types of microchips that could go inside the brain to help function better. And he ended up selling that company. And he is now working on a laser type of technology that could be used on the brain as well. So you're talking about an extremely intellectual man that I was sitting next to. So I had 2 hours. I'm gonna take advantage of this opportunity and ask him every question that I could about business and about his successes and his failures and what he had learned. It came down to just a few things that I immediately am implementing into my life. So here's what I learned. Find a way to work with people that you care about and love. This kind of goes against social norms where everybody says do not mix friends and family with your business. It could make all the relationships tense and argumentative, and it will go downhill very, very quickly. Well, they 100% are true in that aspect. Firstly, it doesn't have to be blood, so don't feel obligated to bring your cousin into something that you know is going to drop the ball, but you just feel the need to invite him into your new venture. But he said that his business partners are some of his closest friends that he has done multiple projects on and plans to do so in the future. But he generally enjoys spending time with them and working on new projects with them, which really hit me because if you don't get along with somebody that you're working on a project with, you don't want to spend extra time doing it. You don't want to put in long hours with somebody that can easily annoy you. One thing that I heard on a podcast once was find people that you love and do life with them. So honestly, the older I get, the more and more this seems to apply to my life. In all the people that I spend time with, I generally get a positive impact from each one of them. And that could be anything from just financial literacy to spirituality to even just someone that generally makes me feel better about myself and that I just enjoy laughing with them. So maybe don't exactly think of who in my family can I bring on board into this. Think instead of who's close to my life that I generally enjoy being around and that generally positively impacts my life. Who in your life can you give an opportunity to that you are confident that they will come through? And if you can't think of anybody, then you probably need to look at yourself and figure out if those people are even worth spending time with and if you need to go find new people to bring into your life. The second focus that he brought up was quit chasing everything, which is really funny because two people that I follow named Alex Hormozy and Nate O'Brien in recent videos brought up this topic specifically as well. So it's really hit home in these past couple of weeks. So Nate O'Brien gave this great example of a ball of energy. And if you're trying to take it in 4 different directions, that energy can only go so far. Versus if you take that ball of energy and focus it in one direction, how much further can you get in that specific goal? This is something that I've always struggled with because I'm the type to want to try everything and I want to help everybody in their new ventures and their new ideas. But I do not have time for it. And I know I don't have time for it, and I'll push myself to try to make time for it, and I end up letting people down. So the fact that this topic keeps being brought up into my life, I think is a huge reason why I'm shifting things in 2023. I'm really gonna be dialing back on a couple of the things that I'm working on, and I'm gonna have one or two main focuses for the entire year. So ask yourself, if you were to take all of these side projects that you're working on and focus them on one thing that you think is gonna be the most successful out of all of them, how do you think that would go? Out of all of our conversation though, he really kept going back to family. You could tell that it was very, very important in his life. And I had to give a little bit of pushback on bringing families and friends into business because that's something that I've struggled with in the past. And I know a lot of people struggle with it. And the couple questions I asked him next brought up the third lesson that I learned. Brought up opportunities he had given people and how they took it and ran with it, and that he is so proud of them for doing so. And he talked about how he was able to set his friends up for success and how they have built their own businesses since then. But I had to stop and kind of ask him though, what do you do with the people that you try to push to succeed and they just don't seem to want it? The people that are close in your life that you feel like you want to help them and you try to, and it feels like you're putting more effort into it than they even are. And of course, his response was really simple. You give them the best chance that you can. You set them up for success. And if they fail, then you did all that you could. A lot of times what we do is we kind of plug them into what we've been doing, and we just kind of expect for them to jump in and take control and do it exactly how we were doing it, when we had all the expertise, we had all the knowledge, and we did not pass that to him. A lot of times the people close in our lives really don't know the industry that we're in very well. We want to bring them in though because they're hardworking, maybe they are in a bad position and just need some help out. We basically see some potential in them and we want to help them succeed. But in doing so, we have to set them up the right way. But a lot of times they don't have the skill set necessary yet. You need to keep investing into them and give them the best opportunity. A couple of weeks ago, this actually happened specifically to me, to where we had a client and I was doing some reels and I kind of knew how long it would take me. But my assistant, it was taking them like twice the amount of time as it would take me. And I was getting so frustrated, and this went on for days and days, and a week or two went by, and I'm so confused on why it's taking so long, until I sit down and say, hey, let's go through this together and figure out why this is taking so long. And I'm thinking that maybe they are just getting bored, maybe they aren't getting the concept right. No. There's an automation in the computer software that we use that I knew about, and they just did it. As soon as we implemented that, it was fine. So if I would have just taken time beforehand and maybe sat them down and walked them through my processes, let them take notes, let them watch me on how I do things, it would have saved the company money, saved them time, and I wouldn't have gotten frustrated. So all of that falls on me for not communicating enough and not setting them up for success. So those are the things that I learned on this plane ride. And I actually learned a fourth thing that I kind of already knew, but this definitely emphasized it. Sometimes you need to pay a little bit more to have an opportunity to meet some pretty amazing people. If you like this video, like and subscribe. My name's Andy Varnes. I got started in this only 3 years ago, and this is my journey. I'm only a couple steps ahead